Good morning. We're going to look at a couple more cassette players. These are my Philips 3300 cassette players, although one of them is labeled a Norelco. But it is a 3300. These were both made in 1964. And here's the microphone we'll use. This is the Philips, made in Holland. You'll notice there's no reflective tab in the middle, and there's no knockout for the erase lever in the back left. And here's the Norelco. Now it's a little different. It seems to be a mix match. Parts of the case are definitely 3300. It has the big screws at the bottom that are spring loaded. But when you look inside, you'll see that there is a tab and there's a knockout for the finger lever for the erase mechanism, but there actually is no erase mechanism on the 3300, so that little knockout in the back left is useless. So we're going to look inside these, and we're going to make a little recording and playback. They're both the same, and they take 5 C-cell batteries. Nice heavy-duty springs. And here's the internal configuration. When I got this, it needed a belt change, but I couldn't find the old belts really. There was some decay, but I really couldn't find where the old belts had decayed to. It wasn't inside the lid or anything, and I just thought I got lucky. But eventually I found them, and it wasn't good. I'm going to insert a little video clip from the day that I changed the belts into this video to show you what I found. I was cleaning the belts out of 1964 Philips EL-3300 and I was very happy. It didn't seem there was a lot of mess in there until I started putting everything back together, and then I found the old belts. There. It has dissolved against the length of all the electronics components. I don't know if I should be able to see that in the light or not, but right under the printed circuit board. It runs the whole stretch. And it even makes the turn at the end. All that dissolved belt onto the circuit board. So what I thought was going to be the easiest belt cleaning job I've ever had has turned into a nightmare. I don't know if it'll be best just to let that stuff sit there and not try and clean it off, or clean it off. I'm not sure what my cleaning fluids would do to all those electronic at the time. But here, hopefully you can see that. That is an EL-3300-00. I'm not sure how the light is here. And you'll see that is from AH, which is Hasselt, Belgium. And that is the 10th week of 1964. So this is certainly an old unit. that we'll get to and try out. we'll compare it with the Norelco here. Alright, here's the interior of the Norelco 3300, which is odd because my understanding was that Norelco didn't start selling in the United States until maybe October or November of 1964, and they sold them as the Norelco Carry Quarter 150. I do have a 3301 that has no motor control board, which is odd, so a lot of these old units are kind of mix and match. But one thing you'll notice right off is, or I noticed right off, this plastic piece here on the Philips is black, and it's got like a brass top. The Norelco is white with a totally different top there. I'm not sure what that part does, but just holds the spindle or something, but those are totally different. Looking at the specifics inside, hopefully we can see this. This is a EL-3300 stroke 54Z. I do believe that's a 5-digit serial number, 54243. And you can see, once again, it's made in Hasselt, Belgium, in the 42nd week of 1964. Let's put everything back together and do a little recording test. Alright, let's try a recording on the Philips EL-3300. When you see the red button, you're live, so we're going to start with it off. Alright, testing the recording of the Philips EL-3300, made in the 10th week of 1964 in Hasselt, Belgium, according to the code inside, although the case says made in Holland. Some people say that's because of tariff issues or country pride, or that final assembly was done in Holland with the case or something. Similar to the fact that we might say a car was made in the USA when really it was, maybe only parts of it were assembled here. So we're going to play this back, but we'll play it back on the Norelco 3300. Philips EL-3300, made in the 10th week of 1964 in Hasselt, Belgium, according to the code inside, although the case says made in Holland. Some people say that's because of tariff issues or country pride, or that final assembly was done in Holland with the case or something. Similar to the fact that we might say a car was made in the USA when really it was, maybe only parts of it were assembled here. So we're going to play this back, but we'll play it back on the Norelco 3300. Playing my little talkover on the Philips, since we did not get to hear it do any playback earlier. I've always wondered when they started making these. I know they were announced at the Berlin Radio Fair in 1963, which went, I found out, from August 30th through September 8th. But were they actually manufacturing them then or selling them? Even today, we announce things like at the Consumer Electronics Show, but they're not sold right away. I did read somewhere where these were only sold first in Germany and the Netherlands, so there couldn't have been many of them. But I would like to have one with the date code of 1963 if I could ever find one, but I don't know if they were in production then. The 10th week of 1964 puts this somewhere in March, early March, first or second week in March, depending on how you look at the calendar. And the Norelco is a little more easy to understand later in 1964. But that's the history. These are nice units. They are old. I'm glad to have them, and they both work pretty well. The meter on the Norelco doesn't work, but they both record and play back pretty well. So that's it for the Philips EL-3300 tape recorders, the first cassette units ever produced, and it started a trend that lasted through the 80s, really. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe, and if you have any technical information on these old Philips units, particularly the 3300s, I'd love to know about it in the comments section. I have others, Philips and Norelcos too. I have the 3301 Norelco and a 3302 Norelco, and I have a 3302 Philips. Then of course I have the other ones that were made by Philips, like the Woolen Sacks I showed recently, and the Mercury, which I showed a while back. And I know they manufactured them under other names too. So if you have any information, feel free to share it. I'm sure there's other people that would like to know it too. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Bye.